comment here also. This is from episode 33, the last show that we did, which was the episode with no name. And when this comment here comes from Reggie J99, it says, Spann, let me ask you this. Do you have any concerns about Joe Biden's age, health, and vitality? I saw that there was a recent special counsel investigation that was concluded where they talked about him being an old man who tends to forget things. And a lot of people think that even now, Biden isn't exactly running the country, that it's his aides and cabinet who are really in charge. So what would you say to the people who know wait. So what would you say to the people who now believe, as you do, that Trump is a threat, but also harbor concerns that Biden won't live through a second term, seeing as how he would be the oldest president in history? All right. So actually let me just jump right into this then, since this is what we were on, because this kind of ties into what Reggie is talking about. So let's just get right into the shit, right? So first story that we got here is Biden too old, right? And I got this story here. I believe this comes out of this is go.com, which I believe is an ABC affiliate. And it says an overwhelming majority of Americans think that President Joe Biden is too old to serve another term, according to a new ABC News Ipsos poll. According to the poll conducted using Ipsos Knowledge Panel, 86% of Americans think that Biden, 81, is too old to serve another term as president. That figure includes 59% of Americans who think that both he and former President Donald Trump, the Republican frontrunner, are too old, and 27% who think only Biden is too old. 62% of Americans think that Trump, who is 77, is too old to serve as president. There's a large difference in how partisans view their respective nominees. 73% of Democrats think Biden is too old to serve, but only 35% of Republicans think that Trump is too old to serve. 91% of independents think that Biden is too old to serve, and 71% say the same thing about Trump. Concerns about both candidates' ages have increased since September, when an ABC News Washington Post poll in September found that 74% of Americans thought that Biden, the oldest commander-in-chief in U.S. history, was too old to serve another term as president, and 49% said the same thing about Trump. The new poll comes on the heels of last week's report from special counsel Robert Hur, which was who was hired, by the way, by Donald Trump. Let's make that clear. Which recommended that Biden should not face charges over his handling of classified documents, but did cast doubt on his mental fitness. Vice President Kamala Harris called the report politically motivated. Now, Reggie wrote in asking about whether or not whether or not Joe Biden is too old to be, for a second term. And he uses this particular report from this special counsel that says that they believe that Biden was forgetful and all these other things, right? So I believe I've said this on this microphone a time or two before. And I'm of the mindset of, first things first, we already knew Biden was old when we hired his ass the first time, right? We knew he wasn't going to get any younger, right? We knew this. I don't know anybody who thought that Joe Biden, because he never said this, I don't know anybody who thought that Joe Biden was going to run for president only to be president for 4 years and say, fuck it, I'm out. Like, I don't know anybody who thought that that was what was going to happen, right? And we also have to be, cognizant and aware of where the idea that Joe Biden is too old to be president, where that shit stems from. This has been coming out of right-wing media for the better part of the last 4 years, simply because, for one, they already wasn't accepting the fact that they lost to Joe Biden, but they've been very methodical and they've been very methodical and very deliberate and pumping out the notion that Joe Biden is too old to be president. Meanwhile, you got Donald Trump, who is the leading Republican candidate right now, despite the fact that he has 91 indictments, 91 counts of indictments against him. He's not that much younger than Joe Biden is. And so the question that I would have for everybody who is worried about whether or not Joe Biden is too old to be president is, like, they've been saying this for the last 3 years now. And yet, especially on the Republican side, and yet there has been the CHIPS Act that was passed. There has been the infrastructure bill that was passed. There has been, like, the student loan forgiveness that's been going on, despite the fact that the Supreme Court has been has been like kind of like, you know, what was that? The Supreme Court basically overturned the way in which Biden had been like canceling out student loans. The Supreme Court basically said the way that he had been doing it prior to was unconstitutional. So he found another way to fucking do the shit, despite the fact that he didn't even run on that, right? So we're talking about a president who has been delivering for folk in ways that they don't know, they're not even necessarily aware of all the time, right? You got that going on. The other thing that, like, you know, some of the people who are more apathetic about the idea of voting, especially for someone like a Donald Trump, I'm sorry, but like a Joe Biden, you know, there's this idea like, I need to be excited about who the president is. I need to be excited. I need to be inspired. Like I've never been someone who felt like I needed to be inspired by who the fuck the president was going to be. I just need him to do the fucking job. And the job is making sure to deliver for the American people. That's it. That's all. I don't need you to be my inspiration. I don't need you to be my motivation. Right? I just need you to be able to be competent and to be able to get the job done. And by and large, for people in my position and people who are in much less, you know, like much less fortunate positions than I am, he's been delivering for folks. And I think the problem has been for the Biden administration has been the messaging around letting people know what they've been doing and how that affects people in their everyday lives. They got to be more forceful in how they advertise that. And I think that now that we are in, like, you know, January and we're in you know, like this is going to be the election year, I think they're going to be more forceful in how they like kind of present that. At least they should be more forceful in how they present that. But that's what I think is going to happen, is that, like, yo, they're going to like try to advertise more that some of the things that are happening for you are happening because this guy is president of the United States, right? Now, the other thing, like, you know, as far as the apathy part is concerned, is that, like, you know, someone mentioned, like, I think someone mentioned last week, and I didn't catch it initially, but someone was talking about reparations and shit last week. And I got a question for you. If you are someone who wants reparations, let's just keep this 1,000. If you are someone who wants reparations, how do you think not voting is going to get you reparations?
Let a naysayer know.
How do you think that you not engaging in the process is going to get reparations for you? What side of the aisle, whether it be Republican or Democrat, has actually even entertained the idea of giving you reparations? Right? They're not even as a matter of fact, a prominent Republican senator, what's my man that used to be the football coach, Tommy Tuberville, went in front of a crowd of thousands and said, they want what you got. They want what you got. They out here committing crimes and they think that what you got is supposed to be for them, and that's bullshit. Tommy Tuberville went out here and told y'all, we don't want to give y'all shit. Republicans aren't out here advocating giving you a motherfucking thing. So I want you to be aware of those who are at least willing to listen to what you have to say, and those who are like, nah, nigga, fuck you. I'm not giving you a goddamn thing. And how dare you ask me for that shit? So yeah, that's kind of what I would say to anybody who's asking those sorts of questions, man. But also, hey, you know, and I think I said this on the show too prior to this, but the reason why so many people are quote unquote questioning whether or not Joe Biden is viable to be president for the next 4 years, it's a shot at Kamala Harris, right? It's a shot at Kamala Harris because they don't think that that lady is qualified to be president of the United States. And with her being his vice president, if something should happen to Joe Biden, Kamala Harris is the one who's second in command. She would step up and she would therefore become president of the United States. There's a lot of people who, whether they are willing to admit it or not, are only scared for the idea of Joe Biden becoming president for a second term, because if indeed he does pass on during his second term, Kamala Harris is poised to become the next president of the United States. So I need people to be I need folks to like really be aware of what this really is about. This isn't necessarily about whether or not they believe that Joe Biden can survive another 4 years. This has a lot to do with whether or not they believe that Kamala Harris can be the next president of the United States. So that's what this is mostly about. Like when you hear people talking about, I don't know if he can make it through another 4 years. We need somebody much younger. And then here you got Kamala Harris, and like I think she's like in her 50s or whatever. They're like, oh, but not her. Right? That's really what that's about. Oh, but not her. So yeah, man. But thank you for your comment, Reggie. Appreciate you. Hope to hear from you again soon, man. Real talk.